Okay, so let's work through this first practice paper then. So the first questions are conversion graphs. Marcus is a farmer. He has his own conversion graph to change between acres and square yards. So the horizontal axis is acres and the vertical axis is square yards. And as you can see, they're horrible scales he's got there. Complete each of the following statements. 3 acres is equal to blank square yards. So 3 acres is actually off his graph. So I can't read off 3 acres. So I'm going to look at another way of doing it. And there's 2 ways you can do this. You can either read off 1.5 and double it. Okay, because 2 lots of 1.5 is 3. Or you can read the 2 and the 1 and add them together. Basically, you want to use the measures that they're giving you there. So if I go for 2 acres is, what is it, 9680. 1 acre is 4840. And add those together. 0, 8 and 4 is 12. 6, 8, 9, 15, 14. So it's going to be 14520 square yards. 5.5 acres is equal to blank. So for 5.5 acres, I'm going to take, how should we do this? So 5.5 acres, I'm going to go 2 lots of I got 3 acres. So I got 3 acres is 14520. I cut off more lines there, that's why I haven't got much room. So I've got 3 is 14520. Another 2 is 9680, and then I need another 0.5, which is 2420. I'm in a bit of a mess of that, am I? 2420. So when I add that side up, I get 5.5. When I add this side up, I get 0, and then 2420 there. So that's going to be 8, 10, 12. And I got 10, 11, 16. And then I've got 3, 12, 16. So it's going to be 26620. By adding those together. Question 2. So this is on primes, factors and multiples. Using only the numbers in the following list, write down 2 prime numbers that have a difference of 6. So prime numbers are going to be numbers that only have themselves and 1 as factors. Well, 5 goes into that, so that's not prime. That's even, so that's not prime. 17 is one of them. 18 isn't prime, 19 is, but if you take those away you don't have 6. 20 isn't, 21 isn't because 7 and 3 go into it, 22 is even, 23 is the other prime number in the list. So there are 3 prime numbers in the list, and the ones with a difference of 6 would be, if I do 23 take away 17, I get 6. So the 2 prime numbers are 17 and 23. Write down a number that is a multiple of both 6 and 9. So it's in the 6 times table and the 9 times table. So the 6 times table goes 1 6 is 6, 12, 18, and the 9 times table goes 9, 18, and so on. 27. So the number that's a multiple of both 6 and 9 is 18. And then a number that is a factor of 57. Now 57, because it ends in a 7, there aren't many numbers or multiples that end in a 7, or numbers that divide exactly. So things that end in a 7 will be things in the 9 and the 3 times table, because 9 threes are 27. So if I divide this by 3, that'll be my starting point. 3 should go into it. 3 goes into 5 once, remainder 2. 3 goes into 27 9 times. So the number that is a factor of 57 is 19, because 19 goes into 57 3 times. Okay, so that's number 2. Right, for most of these now I'm going to do them on paper. So question 3. The price of the entry to a local sports club depends on if you're a member or not. The price list is below. So adults £6.40, students £5.20, children under 16 £3.80. Non-members cost 10% extra. So for adults, 10% of £6.40 is 64 pence. You divide that by 10 and you get 0.64. So you've got £6.40 plus 64, 4, 10, 7. So the adults are going to pay £7.04 if they are not members. For the students, 10% is going to be 52 pence. So here you're going to have £5.20 plus 52p, which will be £5.72. And the child is going to be 38 pence, which is going to be £3.80 plus 38. So we're going to have 8 and 3 is 11, 3, £4.80. So the cost for the non-members are there. So that's part A. Part B, Derek takes his wife and 12-year-old son, who are all members. His daughter, who is home from university, also comes along but isn't a member. Derek pays with 3 £10 notes. How much change does he get? So he takes his wife and 12-year-old son, so that's going to be 2 adults. So, and they are members, £6.40, £6.40. 12-year son would be £3.80. And the daughter isn't a member and is at university, so is a student, so that would be £5.72. So we need to add those together. 2, 8, 16, 23, 12, 15, 20, and the 2, £22.32. So it's going to cost £22.32 and he's paying with £30. So the change will be 30 less 22.32. So 2 from 8 doesn't go. So I'm going to borrow from there, and then I'm going to borrow from there, and then I'm going to borrow from there to make that 10. Then I'm going to have 8. 3 from 9 is 6, and then 2 from 9 is 7, and then 2 from 2 is nothing. So the change is £7.68. Question 3. So question 3, we want to find 3/8 of 824,000. So the first thing we want to do is find 1/8. We find 1/8 by doing 8 into 824,000 using the bus stop method. So 8 goes into 8 once, 8 goes into 2, it doesn't, so we carry it, and then 8 goes into 24 3 times, 0, 0, 0. So 1/8 is 103,000. We want 3/8, so we need 3 lots of that. So you're either going to repeatedly add 3 times, or you're going to do 1, 0, 3, 0, 0, 0 times 8. 8 lots of 0 is 0, 8 lots of 0 is 0, 8 lots of 0 is 0. 3/8 24, 4 down, carry the 2. 8 lots of 0 is 0, and the 2. Oh, hang on, I'm being stupid here, aren't I? I'm just working out what 8/8 are. I want 3/8. So I'm multiplying by 3. 3 zeros, 3 zeros, 3 zeros, 3 threes are 9, 0, 3. So 309,000. So that's question 3. Question 4. Find the whole number that satisfies the following conditions. It's a whole number between 40 and 100 inclusive. So my answer is going to be a number that lies between 40 and 100, including 100. 10% of the number is a square number. So if we think of our square numbers first of all, we've got 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, where do we go there, 64, 81, 100. 10% of the number is a square number. So 10% of 40 is 4. And 10% of 100 is 10. So whatever the number is going to be between 4 and 10, and it's a square number. So my answer is either going to be 4 or 9. Okay, think about that. Let's say we had, let's say the number was 80, or 10% of 80 is 8. If it was 99, 10% would be 9.9. So it can't possibly be any of these. The number is not a multiple of 8. So the number is not in the 8 times table. So when I wrote this question, that should have said factor. Because if it's not a factor of 8, then it's not 4, it's 9. So the number's actually 9. I've mucked the question up. Okay, so we'll just go through, explain why that is then. So, sorry, no. I've confused myself now, haven't I? The number must be 40 or 90. Not 4 or 9. Okay, let me go through this again. I've managed to probably completely confuse you. The answer, the number I'm looking for, is between 40 and 100. 10% of it is a square number. So the only numbers between 40 and 100 that when you find 10% of them are going to be a square number are 4 and 9. because all of these are 10% of a number bigger than 100. So it's either going to be 40 or 90, and it's not a multiple of 8. Well, 40 is a multiple of 8. 40 is in the 8 times table. 90 isn't, so my answer is 90. 90, if I find 10% of it, I get 9, and 9's a square number, and it's not a multiple of 8. It's not in the 8 times table. So 90 is the answer. Question 5. Daisy's house is heated using heating oil. She has a 2,500 litre tank in her garden. Fuel costs 35 pence per litre, and the company Daisy buys from charges £55 for delivery. When the fuel tank has fallen to 1/5 of its capacity, she orders enough to fill the tank. What's the total cost of Daisy's order? So she needs to buy 4/5 of the capacity of her tank to fill it. Okay, so she needs to buy 4/5 of 2,500. So 1/5 would be 500. So 4/5, we times that by 4. 0, 0, 5 4s are 20. So she needs to buy 2,000 litres of fuel. And the fuel costs 35 pence per litre. So 35 pence per litre times 2,000. So 35 times 2 is 70, followed by 3 zeros. But that's in pence. So to turn that into pounds, you would divide it by 100, which would mean the decimal point would end up there. So she's going to spend £700 on fuel, and there's a delivery charge of £55. So the cost of her order would be the £700 for the fuel plus the £55 delivery, which will be £755. So just to go through that again, when it's triggered that she needs to put an order, there's still 1/5 of fuel of the capacity of the tank in her tank. So to fill it up, she needs to buy 4/5 of 2,500. So 1/5 is 500, 4/5 will be 4 lots of that. So she's going to buy 2,000 litres, and they cost her 35 pence a litre. 35 times 2 is 70, and we've got another 3 zeros to include. That's in pence, so we then divide that by 100 to get it into pounds, and then we've got to add on the delivery charge. Question 6. So 28 times 392 divided by 2156. So to estimate the answer, we round each of those off to one significant figure. So the most significant figure there is 22. So the answer, the rounded value is either going to be 20 or 30. Because it's 28 is closest to 30. This one is either going to be 300 or 400, and it's close to 400. And we're going to divide that by either 2,000 or 3,000, and it's closest to 2,000. Multiply the top values. 3 4s are 12, and we've got 3 zeros. And underneath we've got 2 and 3 zeros. We can divide repeatedly by 10 to knock off a 0, until we've run out of zeros on the top or the bottom. So that's going to be approximately the same as 12 divided by 2, which is 6. Question 7. Given that 236 times 47 equals 11,092. So, because we know that these have got the same digits, so the answer is going to also contain those same digits. The only difference is decimal point is going to be in a different place. If we rounded that, we're going to have 20 times 5, which is 100. So to make that answer close, or to use that estimate of 100 to decide where the decimal point is going to go, it's not going to be 1.1092 or 11 point, it's going to be 110.092. And then similarly for part B, if I know that, then I also know that if I do that divided by 47, I'm going to get 236. Or if I have that divided by 236, I'm going to get 47. So that is going to give me an answer which contains the digits 2, 3, 6. And if I round that, I'm going to have, what am I going to have? I'm going to have, it's either going to be 10,000 or 20,000. It's closer to 10,000. And here I'm going to round that to 500. So it's approximately going to be the same as 100 divided by 5, which is 20. So I'm looking to put the decimal place where that's closest to 20, so it's not going to be 2.36, it's going to be 23.6. So that's question 7. Question 8. Aled, Bryony and Charlie enter a competition. They didn't have all the same amount of money to pay the entry fee, so paid in a ratio of 2 to 3 to 5, agreeing to split the prize money in the same ratio if they won the prize. They did. Bryony's winning share was £270. So, question 8. So we've got Aled, Bryony, Charlie, and paid in the ratio of 2 to 3 to 5. They did, and Bryony got £270. So we know that hers has been scaled up from 3 to 270. So what we've got to do is to work out what that scale is there. So we've got to do 270 divided by 3, which is 90. So each of these has got to be multiplied by 90. So Aled is going to get 2 lots of 90, which is 180. Bryony 270, and then Charlie is going to get 5 lots of 90, which is 5 nines are 45, add a 0. So Aled received £180 and Charlie received £450. Jasmine gave 15% of her winnings to her mother to save. So Jasmine, that should be Bryony. Bryony gave 15% of her winnings. So Bryony won £270. So 10% would be 27. 5% would be, so if we half that, we're going to get £13.50. So how much did she give to her mother to save? add these together. 7 and 3 is 10. So she's going to give £40.50 to mum. Okay, so when you find your 15%, you find 10%, half it, add them on. So that's question 8. Question 9. Every summer I spend 10% more on garden products than the previous year. If in the summer of 2018 I spent £820, how much will I spend in the summer of 2021? So in the summer of 18, £820. So next year she's going to be spending £820 plus 10%, which is going to be 82. So we'll add those together. 8 and 2 is 10. So £902 in the summer of 2019. So in the summer of 2020, it'll be £902 plus 10%, which will be £90.20. So finding the 10% of 902 is £90.20. Dividing by 10, 0.2299. So in the summer of 2021, it's going to be 99220 plus 10%. So 10% is going to be £99.22. So 2, 4, 9, 10, 11, 18, 19, 9, 10 is 1,000. So in the summer of 21, I'm going to be spending £1,091.42. Okay, so with a question like that, you have to break it down year by year and then add it on. It's a compound increase. Question 10. Express 600 as a product of prime factors in index form. Okay, so this is where we repeatedly divide by prime numbers. And it's even, so it's easiest to start with 2. 600 divided by 2 is 300. 300 divided by 2 is 150. 150 divided by 2 is 75. Okay, so I've got to stop now dividing by 2 because 2 doesn't go into that, but 3 does. 3 goes into that 25 times. 25 times 3 is 75. You could have divided by 5, doesn't matter. 5 goes into that 5 times, and then all my tails outside there are prime numbers, so I can stop. So 600 is the same as 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 5 times 5. They wanted it in index form. That's not in index form. In index form, I'm multiplying 2 by itself 3 times. 3 to the power of 1, 5 squared. You don't need to have the power of 1 there. You could have just left it as 3, but I think it's useful to put it in because I can tell it's not a square number because it's got odd numbers in its powers. If it was a square number, that digit and that digit would have to be even like that one. So not a square number because there are odd digits in the powers. Okay, so that's number 10. Number 11. Evan bought a new laptop using a store card and repaid £60 a month for 20 months. The advertised price for the laptop was £800. Calculate the total interest that Evan paid as a percentage of the cost of the laptop. So if he'd have just gone in and bought it straight off, it would have cost him £800. So the first thing we want to do is work out how much it actually cost him. So laptop cost Evan. I'm going to go and kill that dog now. Lady, shut up! 60, there we are, completely ignored me. Lots of 20. So £60 a month for 20 months. 6 2s are 12, followed by 2 zeros. Come on, be quiet, pug. So the cost of the laptop was £1,200. So that means he paid the difference in interest. £1,200 less 800 is £400. So he paid £400 interest. So calculate the total interest that Evan paid, which we've done, but they want it as a percentage of the cost of the laptop. So to turn it into percentage is going to be the amount of change, the amount of extra there was, which is 400, out of the original value, which was 800, times by 100 to put it into a percentage. So multiply out what you got on top, and you've got 4 followed by 4 zeros, divided by 8 followed by 2 zeros. So we can knock off 2 noughts, but we can only knock off 2 noughts because I've stopped them. I haven't got any more. So then I've got to do 8 into 400. Okay, so let's do that using bus stop. 8 into 4 doesn't go, so we carry the 4. 8 into 40 goes 5 times, and then 8 into 0 goes 0. So it's a 50% interest. So you work out what the value of the interest is, then you divide that by what it originally cost, and then multiply by 100. Question 12 is another compound one. If I save £2,000 in a bank paying 3% compound interest per annum, how much will I have in my bank account after 2 years? So in year 1, starting with £2,000. I need to work out what 3% of that is. So 1% I'd divide by 100, which is 20. So 3% would be 3 lots of 20, £60. So at the end of the first year, he will have the £2,000 that he paid in plus the 60. So £2,060 in his bank account. Then we come into the second year. So he starts off with 2060, and then we've got to work out what 3% is. So 1% we divide by 100, which would be £20.60. So for 3%, we'd multiply that by 3, or repeatedly add 3 of them together. 3 zeros are 0, 3 sixes are 18, 3 zeros are 0, add 1, 2 threes is 6. 2 digits after the decimal point at the start, so there'll be 2 at the end. So the interest would be £61.80. So how much will he have, or will I have in my bank account after 3 years? Well, I'll have the 2000 after 2 years, sorry, 2060 plus that interest. So at end of second year, I'll have 2060 plus £61.80. So remember, all of this has to be done without a calculator. 0, 8, 1, 12, 1, 2. So at the end of the second year, in my bank account, I will have £2,121.80. Question 13. I can do this on the sheet. So to the power of 4 means you're multiplying it by itself 4 times, but I've got the square root in there. Now, square root is to the power of a half. So straight away, I know that I can write that as 5 to the power of a half raised to the power of 4. So the property of raising a power to another power is that you multiply them. So that's going to be 5, half of 4 is 2, which is 5 squared, which is 25. So you need to recognize that the square root can be written as a power, as a half, so that's a learning activity. Then you need to remember that when you're raising a power to a power, you multiply them. Half of 4 is 2. 5 squared is 5 times 5, which is 25. With this one, you've got 3 squared times 2 squared to the power of a half, because the square root's on the outside now. So that now is the same as 3, 2 times a half is 1, times 2 times a half is 1, which is 3 times 2, which is 6. What you could have done there is you could have worked out what those were first of all. So 3 squared is 9, 2 squared is 4, 9 times 4, so I do that another way, or square root of 9 times 4. 3 squared is 9, 2 squared is 4, 4 nines are 36, and the square root of 36 is 6. This one, anything to the power of 0 is 1. The reciprocal of 6 means 1 over 6, or that's to the power of 1, 6 to the minus 1. With the reciprocal, it's a negative power. 3 to the power of 4 means 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. 3 threes are 9, 9 threes are 27, 27 times 3 is 7 threes are 21, 2 threes are 6, 8. So that's 81. 2 to the power of negative 3 is 1 over 2 to the 3, that's the reciprocal again. Okay, so you can either write it as to the power of minus 3 or 1 over 3 like that, which is 1 over 2 times 2 times 2, which is 1 over 8. So 2 to the negative 3 is the same as 1 over 8. 9 times 3 to the power of 15 can be written as 3 to the power of n. Well, I know that 9 I can write as 3 squared times 3 to the 15. When the bases are the same, I can add the powers. So that's going to be the same as 3 to the power of 17. So the value of n is 17. Question 14. express 150,000 and 0.015 in standard form. So straight away put my powers in. So 10 to the 0, 10 to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. Write the number underneath, so I got a 0, 0, 0, 0, 5, 1. So there's my 150,000. It's going to be, because I need it to be between 1 and 10, that's going to be 1.5, and this tells me times 10 to the power of what? So it's going to be 1.5 times 10 to the power of 5. And then when we're dealing with the small numbers, we've got 10 to the 0 decimal point, and then this side 10 to the minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4, minus 5, and so on. Let's put the number in. 0.30 is 1, 2, 3, 1, 5. So it's still going to be 1.5 to have it between 1 and 10, and this time the most significant is there, times 10 to the minus 4. So that's number 14. Number 15, calculate the following, giving your answers in standard form. So with the first one, which is a multiply or a divide, you treat them separately. So you do your 9.3 divided by 3, and then this is going to be times 10 to the minus 10 to the 5 over 10 to the minus 3. 9.3 divided by 3, 3 goes into 9, 3 goes into 3 once. And when you divide, you're subtracting the powers. So that's going to be 5 take away negative 3. When the signs are the same, they become plus. So that's going to be the same as 5 plus 3. So the answer is going to be 3.1 times 10 to the 8. When you add or subtract, you turn them into decimal numbers first of all. So we're going to go back to our power grid. 10 to the 0, 10 to the 1, 10 to the 2, 3, 4, 5, and we got 5.8 times 10 to the 4, so that's going to be 5.8 times 10 to the 4, 7.3 times 10 to the 3, and we're subtracting. 0, 0, I can't take 3 from 0, so I've got to borrow from there to get 7, 0, 5. So that's my number, and then I want to put it back in standard form, so it's going to be 5 times 10 to the 4, but it's going to be 5.07 times 10 to the power of 4. Question 16. Storage boxes come in 3 heights, 10 centimeters, 15 centimeters, and 20 centimeters, each measured correct to the nearest centimeter. I want to stack one of each height on a shelf with an exact height of 45 centimeters. Can I be certain that the 3 boxes will fit? So the 10 centimeter one, because it's been rounded to the nearest centimeter, it could be up to 15 centimeters high. And it could be as short, sorry, not 15 centimeters high, that would be to the nearest 10 centimeters. It could be 10.5 centimeters high. And it could be as short, as narrow as 9.5 centimeters. Because any measurement between those two, rounding to the nearest centimeter, would give you 10. Similarly, the 15 centimetre one could be as high as 15.5 and as narrow as 14.5, and the other box, which is 20 centimetres, could be 20.5 and 19.5. So the worst case scenario is if each of the three boxes is at its maximum possible height. So the worst case would be if I'm adding a 10.5 to a 15.5 to a 20.5. So if I add those together and it comes to more than 45, I can't be certain that the boxes will fit. So 10, 15, 5, 6. So they could be as high, as tall as 46.5 centimetres. This is taller than 45 centimetres, so cannot be certain. It's not to say they won't fit, because they could all be at their lowest, or a mixture of both. But the worst case would be if they were all at their extreme values. And then the final question, which is the reverse percentages. A pair of jeans have been reduced by 10% in the sale. So reduced by 10%. So what that means is they're 90% of their original value, original cost, because they've been reduced. If they've been increased by 10%, then they'd have been 110% of the original cost. So 90% of the original equals £63. That's what I paid. So I know that I'm paying 90% of the original cost, and that comes to 63. And what I want to find is what 100% is, what the original was. And because this is a non-calculator, I've got to do it using this method. First of all, I can find 10%. So what do I have to divide 90 by to get my 10%? 9. So I have to divide this by 9 as well. So 10% of original would be 63 divided by 9, which is £7. Now I can work out what 100% is. By timesing by 10, because 10 tens are 100. If I times that by 10, I have to times this by 10 as well. So the original cost of the jeans is £70. So pre-sale cost of jeans equals £70. And you've got to be wary of that question, okay? The most common mistake would be to find 10% of 63 and then add that back on, and that won't give you the right answer, okay? Because it's not 10% of that value, it's 10% of the original amount, which you don't know. It's always going to be one of the last questions on an intermediate tier paper. So if it seems too easy, well, I'll just find 10% and add it back on. That's because you're going to do it wrong. So you've got to be spotting questions like that. And the same with this question. If you just read that without being suspicious, you would just think, well, 20, 30, that adds to 45. So yes, of course it'll fit. You've got to read the extra bit that they have been rounded, because a grade B question isn't going to just be add 3 measurements together and see if it comes to 45. Okay, so that is paper 1. Paper 2, I will log on next week on Thursday morning and go through that with you then if you want to join me. Any questions, let me know.